Let's dive into it. It came out late last week. It was after we were able to have you on, though, that Jake Haener, it was the oblique injury. He's out for a few weeks. Obviously, you talk about the brand new quarterback battle between Haener, Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck. What does Jake's future look like in New Orleans after this news?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think the oblique injury really changes anything for Jake Haener. I mean, obviously, it's not advantageous to have that right now at this point in the season. You're trying to compete for a job and everything, but I don't think, look, I mean, realistically, he's not in the competition to be the starting quarterback. I think we know it's going to be Rattler or Shuck. It's not going to be Jake Haener. I think he is kind of fighting for a roster spot right now. But I don't think this really puts him too far behind anything. I think it's going to take Decker some time to pick stuff up. I think by training camp is when that battle is really going to start. Nothing's going to be decided right now. We didn't see Decker's throw in the last OTA. It was only about an hour long, and it was 8 throws for Shuck, 8 throws for Rattler, and that was it. But I would imagine that Deckers probably looks kind of similar to Shuck right now, where things are happening a little bit slower. The ball isn't coming out like real fast. It's kind of looks like a guy learning how to play at this level, like kind of getting used to the speed of it, getting his used to the temperature. So I don't think he's probably pulling off on Haener right now. And the thing with Haener is as soon as he hits that field in practice, we already know he's going to look amazing. Like, he is an amazing looking practice player. So any ground loss over missing, what is it, 10 practices or something like that, I think he's going to just show up day one in training camp, assuming he's ready, go out there and practice, and he's going to remind everyone that, like, hey, like, this is a guy that understands things. So I don't think he's losing the battle right now. I think it's detrimental to the possibility of him winning that starting job, but that was never realistic to me.
Anybody that's maybe caught your eye out there at OTA so far?
Yeah, I mean, just probably the guys that should. I thought Rattler had a really great practice. Like, stuff was just happening fast, and balls coming up quick, in rhythm, kind of back foot hitting on the 3-step drop ball out, stuff like that, where you kind of see the experience of a year. So he was the main guy I left that practice, like, really kind of, excited about seeing what he looked like in year 2 coming into it. But that's kind of to be expected. One guy that really stood out that was surprising to me that wasn't, I don't think, on my radar at all. I don't think he got mentioned in like a single off-season conversation was Dante Pettis. He's playing high up in the order. They had this period where they split up the field. It was kind of like the first team and then the top reserves on one end of the field and like everybody else at the other end. Dante Pettis was on the right end of the field with the higher rated players is how I would put it. And then even in the 7-on-7 period, he had a nice catch up the sideline. Again, it's one day. Like, it's one day of practice. It's an hour. He might not look good in anywhere else, but in those 16 reps we saw and the 4 that he was out there for, he looked pretty good and he stood out. And it looks like, just depth chart wise, this early, he's ahead of Bob Means right now. Outside of that, not really like anyone that was surprising.
To start OTAs, one of the big notes that everyone was talking about was Trevor Penning at guard on that offensive line. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for like 3 years that I don't know if that's the best spot for him. But look, I might not be a reliable narrator on Trevor Penning. I thought him playing right tackle last year was going to be the thing that brought down the team. I didn't think they were going to be able to play him week 1. I thought he looked really bad during training camp. Then he gets out on the field, and he's like kind of serviceable. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he played well enough to be an answer at tackle for any of the 32 teams. Maybe like a below James Hurst level player at that position, but he became okay. Like, he wasn't something that was going to cost him the season or anything like that. You were able to get by with him. So I was absolutely wrong there. I could be absolutely wrong about the guard thing. I like the idea of trying him out at that position. I feel like they've already lost on the draft pick. I feel like they've lost on the value. They traded up to get him. He's not a tackle. He's not going to be a tackle for this team. So, like, that's already gone. Like, you took the L there, but if you can get him at guard and he can be a serviceable guard, I mean, that's pulling a win out of a loss. And if he's okay enough, if he's decent enough at that spot, maybe you even like re-sign him and you keep him. I like the idea of his athleticism at that position. League's kind of trended towards 6'7" guards a little bit more. Andrew Speed was kind of at the forefront of that. Those guys are getting bigger and taller, so that's playable. Structure quarterback, that's not really a problem. If you can get in there and run and maul, great. I mean, maybe it could play there. I just don't know if, like, inside rush, quick pass rush moves, if that's the thing that helps him succeed. I kind of feel like he might lose a little bit more at that. But look, I'm not standing on like anything with Penning. I've been super wrong about my last couple takes on him. So maybe he makes it work, and if he does, I would feel really good about this offensive line overall. There's a possibility, and it should be. I think I've said this before on here. Like, I think that O-line should be a strength of the team. I think they should be held to that standard. They put way too much into it, and if he can play there, I feel pretty good about the offensive line overall.
Nick, just one more for you. You were talking about Alvin Kamara a little bit earlier. Maybe the running back depth chart behind Kamara. What do you expect that to look like?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. They had Yarns, the UDFA,
yep.
On the field, the one end of the field with like when they split it up, he was down there. Neal was at the other end, which that isn't necessarily like rookie has to earn it. Kendrick Miller was down with the top team, so maybe it's kind of like a Miller versus Neal thing, and Neal has to overcome Miller to get down to that end of the field. Maybe Yarns is kind of viewed more as like the satellite type back, the pass catching back, and maybe he's kind of competing for a different spot on that depth chart within the same meeting room. But I kind of expect it. Look, I think when all is said and done, I think it's probably Alvin and Neal are probably the top guys at that position. I think that's probably how they want it to work out. It would be great if Kendrick figures it all out. I'm still the president of the Kendrick Miller Believers Club. I still think he has all the talent in the world. I still think that, he's just an incredibly gifted player, but learning the playbook has been a huge problem for him every single year. And now you're changing offenses again, and he's starting all the way over at the beginning. And maybe Joel Thomas and Kellen Moore and Paginetti and all those guys working with the run game, like maybe they're the ones that get it to click for him. And if they do, I think he's probably the second most talented back on the team. But it's just kind of reached a point after multiple years where it's just like, I can't bet on this guy. So I got to bet on the other guy and let Miller prove me wrong.
Nick Underhill of neworleans.football. Nick, thanks so much for the time this morning, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.